I'm pissed. Why? I don't know. I guess I'm just a wrathful person. How did it happen? Well, that's for you to find out. Now I can assure you, I know it's a terrible joke, that you're safe with me. As of this moment, I'm pretty tame, but one wrong move and I'll hammer you, or any animals that I have. I don't have any animals, or pets. Ow, my head. I think I was supposed to be remembering something. It doesn't matter. On with Asura's Wrath. Asura's Wrath is a game that is unfortunately forgotten by many. Sure, it pops up here and there, maybe the game didn't get enough mainstream attention, and it's a PlayStation 3 hidden gem throughout thousands of PlayStation 3 titles, and I'm gonna find out why. Well, I already know the answer, so... OFF WITH HER HEAD! The game came out in the month of February around the world and March for the UK in 2012. Nice. And was developed by CyberConnect 2, who are known for making anime games like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z and JoJo, and you see it here. They made this game into an interactive anime. This is super unique as the game is structured like an anime, having breaks in between chapters, having an opening and an ending at the end of the chapter. It's really cool. The opening is just credit rolling by each chapter, so you'll see it around 16 times or less or more. Capcom was a publisher, which is a shame since they didn't do nothing with this IP. They didn't even bring him to one of the best and most ambitious crossover, Marvel vs Capcom. I understand if he wasn't in Marvel vs Capcom 3, but Infinite, he had so much potential, but no. Instead, they just rehashed the same roster from 3 and dumb it down and add more Marvel characters rather than Capcom because of popularity with the Marvel movies. Okay, I'm starting to heat up a bit, but that was quite a tangent. But I'm okay.
I'm okay.
The game was in development in 2007, and CC2 wanted to make a game that everyone could relate to and understand. That's why the team focused on wrath, as that emotion is the driving force to push someone forward and overcome any obstacle. CC2 also wrote the story as a collective group, then gave their ideas to an actual writer to condense it down and make it make sense. First, I'm going to talk about the interpretation and inspiration that this game is based on, so if you aren't educated on Hinduism or Buddhism, then it's time for me to teach you a little to know about the world. Before, all you knew a little bit like Shiva and Ganesh, basically the gods. I do know of Asura from other stories that takes inspiration from these two beliefs that I've mentioned. Well, one belief, the other is a way of life, but pish posh, who cares about the details. So Asura is a demigod in Buddhism, and they are described as having either 6 or 4 arms and 3 heads with faces, and is associated with the wrath. There are so many versions of Asura, like they have better living experience than humans, basically kinda like heaven, or they are demons from the lower realms, probably in hell. I'll talk about the other characters and what they're associated with in the story part of the review. Asura's Wrath doesn't use the world of Hinduism or Buddhism enough, and that's a shame. We only get to see the Naraka world, but not really. The Naraka is basically hell for all the sinners. All we see is a bunch of pillars and cloudy mist below, which is kinda like a limbo state, in which Asura saves himself for entering the eternal, or not eternal, hell. So now you know where the inspiration came from. Let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. I don't think I'll be angry at this, but my god is it all over the place. There are at least 3 interactive gameplay that I've witnessed that are beat 'em up sections, unreal shooting section, and walking section. Ooh, very exciting. Let's talk about them all one by one, starting with walking section. You walk. Like, how basic can you get? Okay, onto the beat 'em up section. At first I thought the gameplay was going to be like God of War, but that isn't the case. Asura has to fight against horde of soldiers till his rage meter fills up to continue the story. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but you do need the rage meter to get to the next section. Asura has weak attacks and strong attacks that will overheat once you use them, and you'll need to wait till it cools down. And Asura can blast flying enemies with his projectile attacks. However, the attack is very weak and isn't strategic to use other than flying enemies. When Asura takes enough damage or you beat enough enemies, you have an unlimited strong attack thing. Well, that's what I call it. It isn't rage mode, but you can spam heavy attacks to distance yourself from hordes and give you time to breathe. And one final thing, you can parry attacks when the button prompts up, kinda like quick time, and using your quick reflexes, you see Asura just manhandling them with ease. If the combat is too much for you, or you're constantly taking damage, Asura can get knocked back. You can compose yourself by pressing the X button and continue with the assault. You can even customize your gauge, giving you perks or challenging your abilities, like filling up your limited gauge faster, recovering from overheating faster, and taking less damage, or removing your gauge bar so you can't see your health. Next is the unreal shooting section. These sections are here just to show you the scale of the battle, and there isn't a better way to show you that than the intro of Asura's Wrath. Oh my god, this was fucking sick. You see a puny-sized demigod fight a planet-sized impure monsters, and the spectacle of the cutscene was orgasmic. You see a full-on galactic battle with over-the-top moves. The other part is when Asura is either chasing or running towards something, and you need to get rid of the fodders in your way. But seriously, if you're not impressed by the intro, then delete your game, sell your console, and jump off a bridge.
You what?
As you've seen, the graphics and art style is something that you'll either love or hate. At first when I played the game, that last time I played was probably 2015, and a lot has changed in terms of visuals. Like when I first booted the game, it was super bright, the lighting was blinding everything, and I couldn't even see the subtitles, but I fixed that in the setting on my PlayStation. The game has aged. However, when I continued playing it, the art and visual I enjoyed quite a lot. It grew on me. Like I said, you see Buddhism and Hinduism art style as well as sci-fi, as you see mechanical beings and structure, and with this unique blend is to create this new and unique world in video games that I have never seen, and adding a slice of anime in there as well, since this game is presented in a style of episodic anime series. So now we know how the game is played out. What's the story like? Well, just be warned, there's a lot of fisting.
Nice.
When you boot the game, it immediately puts you right into action, as you play as Asura, one of the 8 generals that is tasked to protect Gaia and its people, Gaia being Earth. The first one you see after Asura, the other general, is Wizen, the fat one, August, the strong one, Yasha, the stoic one, Sergei, the crazy one, Kalro, the coward one, Olga, the sexy one, and finally Deus, the general one, making them all the 8 generals. So Asura flies down and kills impure Goma that normally takes the form of animals, like elephant, fish, gorilla, and all sorts of beasts. I like it how you see the impurity level of every beast that you see. It doesn't make the game harder, but it shows you the severity of the situation and the scale that you'll overcome, like fighting Vlitra, whose impurity level is immeasurable and tears open Gaia to reveal itself. With the help of other generals, Asura goes into his 6-arm Vajra Asura form, which looks even more sick. You even see a freaking laser beam. Also, I don't like how this buddy gives me the okay to look at his buttocks. It's insane. Yeah. What? Ah, shit, I ran out of lotion. But there's plenty in the ocean. At least my Donkey Kong will be 99.9% free of germs and bacteria.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
In this intro, you also see Asura's daughter Mithra providing aid via praying and a giant sentinel looking thing called a Brahmastra, the most powerful weapon the general have and the most powerful weapon in Hinduism. The 8 generals defeat Vlitra, however that isn't strong enough to stop it, as will spawn stronger than ever before. Asura goes home to see his wife and daughter. That doesn't last long, as Asura is summoned by the 128th Emperor Strada, only to find him dead and blood is on his hands. The fodder guard sees Asura and accuses him of treason and madness. Asura, being confused, beats the ever living crap out of him and runs home in fear that his family is in danger, and he was right. His wife Durga is about to die, not before telling Asura to save their daughter Mithra. Clouded with rage, Asura finds the generals with his daughter, and Deus reveals to him that he was the one who killed the Emperor and he's going to use Mithra to save Gaia. Of course Asura will let that happen, but he isn't close enough to match Deus in strength, as he tosses him over the ship as Mithra is frozen solid. Oh my, that was a turn of event now, wasn't it? I mean, all I wanted was a loaf of bread, and my wife gets killed and my daughter gets kidnapped. Nah, perfectly reasonable. Honestly, I'm fine.
Come here, you little piece of shit, huh? Now listen, this is what I'm gonna do to you.
Well, Asura isn't dead yet, as he is in the limbo part of Naraka, hanging off by a pillar. One slip and he's gone into the depths of hell, in where he will sniff glue for all eternity. Strangely, a golden spider meets Asura. Ah, kill it. Asura has forgotten who he is and his past, and the spider helps him to try and regain his memories, but the only thing Asura remembers is a child crying. Fueled by the annoying sound, Asura climbs up to the world of the living, to Gaia, in where 12,000 years have passed, and even then the Goma is still causing rampage across Gaia. Asura travels around the world and finds a group of people getting attacked by the Goma and the Buddha soldiers. Soon after the battle, the fat one appears, Wizen. What's so cool is that whenever you fight the generals, is that they have long boring dialogue that goes on and on and on, that you can interrupt by punching them in the face, kind of like what I'm doing in this review, except you can't punch me in the face because I'm behind the screen. Now, once upon a time there was a story. Well, it's not really a story, but the point is, what I'm trying to get at is that this The initial fight with Wizen isn't all that great. There's a beat 'em up section and an on-wheel shooting section. Asura slingshot Wizen out of space, then Wizen releases his mantra, transforming again into a giant fat big boned Buddha. Please don't finger blast me. He now calls himself one of the 7 deities. Also, I should add that throughout 12,000 years, Asura is kinda like a fallen angel, a demon, since he's the one who caused all of this destruction when he didn't anyways. Wyzen gets his finger out, trying to slowly poke Gaia in where Asura is standing, but of course Asura isn't having any of that and releases his Vajra form, and regaining some memories, he's able to defeat Wyzen's finger that was his Achilles heel, cause now he's dead, turned to dust and mantra. Wyzen isn't that interesting of a character, he's just there to show you what to expect from the other deities, and also his mantra's violence. Yasha visits Asura, who just defeated Mantra Wyzen with the cost of his arms. That's mechanical. That part threw me off, as I thought his arms was normal. Yasha and Asura fight, but it's pretty one-sided, since Asura can't use his hands, but he can use his head. However, it isn't enough, leaving Asura to get killed by Yasha's hand, and that is the end of part 1 of Asura's wrath. But it isn't over, as Asura is again in Limbo Naraka with the golden spider. Asura remembers some training with his master, August, and remembering the time with his family and what he has to protect, that being his wife and baby Mithra, in which Asura gives up the second he's trying to calm his baby down. Well, at least he's got the best anime dad trope alongside shouting really loud and being an idiot. But now that he remembers, Asura is again consumed by wrath and runs up the pillar to be revived again, being engraved in a rock with a girl praying to him that looks like his own daughter Mithra, as well as the whole village praying to him, and 500 years have passed since Yasha killed him. Jesus. Asura feels calm when he's around her, but she gets kidnapped by the Goma. Asura chases after them to a village in where you fight a giant tortoise, and when that is over, the villagers come out hiding and start praying to Asura, as he finds this rather pathetic. But this is short-lived, as suddenly a crap ton of ships come out of nowhere that Kaldro sent as it attacks the whole village alongside the Goma. They both have a few exchange of words, but it doesn't mean anything, as Kaldro is a hologram, just hiding behind an illusion. The girl was carrying a baby with her, but I think the baby died when Asura tried to protect her, as you see her hitting the father soldiers with a rock. Before you start a chapter, you get an intermission in the form of slideshows and some art depicting what is happening, and you learn about the girl's backstory. In short, her father was killed by the Buddha soldier when she was swarmed by Goma, and since then she questions the god above her, as her father died for nothing, and she was the only one brave enough to pray close enough to Asura, as the other feared him, and because of that the girl and Asura formed a bond, or what little of. Asura flies up to a fleet and destroys everything in his way to confront Kaldro for what he did, killing the innocents just to collect their mantra, and he's a coward for not doing his own bidding, always using hologram because fighting is too primitive for him. Kaldro escapes Asura's wrath via escape pod, or so he thinks, as Asura destroys his fleet and kills him, as he pleads with him that what they're doing is for the greater good, collecting mantra and ridding the world of Goma, as Deus plans it all, and Asura crushes him like a flea, and Kaldro is dead. Kaldro is another non-interesting character out of the 7 deities, because he's a coward and he's boring. His mantra is sloth. Well, that says it all, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he's uninteresting. Asura crash lands back on Gaia, where August carries his unconscious body to the hot springs to heal his body for their fight, as he wants Asura to be at his best, and this part of the game is just 10 out of 10. You are greeted with the finest ladies to accompany you, as you can look at their assets, drink alcohol, or just look around and find soldiers comically spying on you. And just when Asura is gonna get some action, August cockblocks him and knocks him out, while we get to see his buttocks instead. Nice. August and Asura both reminisce about the old days of battle, as everyone is dependent on mantra, while August is dependent on his fist, making him the strongest out of them all. August's philosophy is to fight, eat, fight, wine, fight, sleep with beautiful women, or fight alongside them. Shakespeare to my virgin ears. Plus he is your master, the one that taught Asura everything, and they show all of this in a short time span, and in that short time he's the most memorable, and that's why he's one of my favourites out of the 7 deities. And this boss fight with August is fucking insane. In the membrane, like just wow. Basically you're on the moon and you have a massive battle that honestly you should experience for yourself. Then August brings out his sword that he only used against Deus, and that was interesting, as it shows that Asura might be on the same level as him, but not quite, as August penetrates him all the way to the freaking earth, as the sword burst out on the other side where Asura landed. But of course that is enough to stop Asura, as his rage continues to build. He breaks his sword, and with the hilt of the sword he kills August with it, slicing his stomach open, as August is proud to have one of the best fight before his death, and August unfortunately dies. I've already said why I liked him and why he is my favourite. His mantra is greed. That is a given because of his ideals that he shares and what I told you about. Also, this game shows you the toxicity of having too much faith, to a point where you become a capital without the will of your own. And if a religion is like that, well, it's wrong to begin with. Asura again loses his arm in the battle, and he travels with the girl to another village in where, like I said, everyone is a sheep and is willing to be killed. As the girl doesn't want that, then another armada shows up, this time being Olga, and she unleashes a barrage of missile attacks, killing everyone in the village. Everyone. As Asura sees her lifeless corpse, his rage boils to the absolute max, to a point in where he transforms into a demonic Asura from the folklore. As they see there are good ones and bad ones, this was tragic seeing Asura turn into a demon as he bonded with this girl, whose name is the girl, and seeing her die. All for the 7 deities' plans to collect the mantra and finally getting rid of the Goma. With this transformation, demon Asura destroys the fleet as Olga is forced to retreat for the time being, and that is the end of part 2, leaving on a tragic note. Now in part 3 he plays Yasha, Asura's brother-in-law, and Durga's brother, who is Asura's wife, in which I forgot to talk about. His mantra is melancholy. Olga wants to use the Brahmastra to kill Asura, but Yasha disagrees as it took him quite a while and trillion of souls to make it powerful, and it shouldn't be wasted. She doesn't listen and fires the weapon, and Yasha runs across the ship to try to stop it, but it's too late. However, Demon Asura stops the blast and disappears. Yasha and Deus talk about his plans and Yasha's loyalty to him. Then with Deus' orders, Yasha heads down to Gaia to save the human from the impure Goma, but Sergei kills them all to steal their mantra, making Yasha fight the Goma for nothing. But not for long, as Demon Asura surprises him and one-shots Sergei into oblivion. Wow, I did not expect that to happen. Well, Sergei is a bit crazy, as his mantra is vanity. Unfortunately, he doesn't have his own magazine come with it. Sergei then reveals that he was the one that killed Durga, Asura's wife and Yasha's sister, and kidnapped Mithra. Yasha already knew this and still kept his loyalty to the deities. What a bitch. Sergei dissolves into nothing, and now Yasha has to fight his stubborn brother-in-law, still consumed by rage, demonic Asura. The fight is intense as the fight is back and forth. Yasha breaks Asura's demon form with a punch, knocking him out, and with him out the picture, he confronts Deus about the plans and the ethics of it all, as Yasha now questions if what he's doing is wrong and denounces himself as a deity. Well, it's too late as his sister is already dead. But hey, better late than never, right? Now you control Asura when he wakes up to unleash his rage and rushes to where Yasha and Deus is. Yasha is struggling to fight him as both of them team up to fight Deus, the general of the 7 deities. Asura goes into his Vajra form, and yeah, Deus is defeated, but not killed, as he releases his mantra and runs to the Brahmastra and merges with it, becoming Sakra, Devnam, Indra, Deus. Yasha summons his corvette and rides closer to the Sentinel and destroys the remaining fleet. Since Deus is now a huge target, he should be easily taken care of, but that isn't the case as they need to destroy the power supplies to weaken Indra Deus and fight Deus for the second time. With the help of Yasha, Asura's rage fuels him, as Mithra is used as a tool for peace by Deus, as Asura doesn't care for peace. The poor soul just wants his daughter to be free of pain and suffering, and with that rage in him, he defeats Deus for the second time, and Yasha goes to Mithra and apologizes for being a terrible uncle. I agree, but the battle is still not over, as Velitra bursts out of Gaia again, with more heads, oddly looking like a spider from certain angle, and Deus was the only one who could defeat it since he fused with the Brahmastra that was powered by trillions of mantra souls to boost his power in order to kill Velitra, and that was his whole plan. So Deus is now dead. Deus is the mastermind of everything bad that happened, framing Asura for the killing of the Emperor, which he didn't do, killing trillions of people in the span of 12,500 years, all for peace. His mantra is pride, so he really isn't going to stop for anyone. Flying down to confront Velitra with Yasha, Mithra stays behind and prays for them as Asura blasts his way through the core. The Villager is too powerful. With the help of his daughter, Asura achieves his ultimate form, Mantra Asura, and obtains huge arms. Yasha gets nothing, but the two reach the core with each other's help and finally confront Villager human form. That kinda looks like Asura demon form. Don't know what that's supposed to mean. And he is the only Goma not to have animal form as the others. So now with the core defeated and Villager dead, Asura and Yasha returns to Mithra, and that's it. Part 3 is finished, the story is complete. There is a hidden intermission in where it shows the golden spider being very suspicious, like he was manipulating Asura, but the story ends on that hidden note. Also, what happened to Olga? She is the last remaining general to be alive, but now is the time to unleash my wrath quietly. Why does CC2 always practice these stupid fucking things? Like holding piece of games back and releasing them as DLC, as they did with Asura's Wrath. Now it's currently 2020 and you can't even buy the story DLC anymore. They took it off, and that pisses me off as I can't even get it no more. I didn't even know that this game existed when it came out, just only a few years later when, well, I guess when they took it off. But still doesn't excuse the fact that CC2 released the game and expected you to pay them even more for the true ending. That's bullshit. The only thing that's still in the PlayStation Store right now is the hand-drawn animation that explains certain part of the story in certain chapters, like what happened with Yasha, and well, I couldn't be bothered reading the synopsis. Now I know what happens in the story because I watch other YouTubers play it, but I'm not gonna bother tell you because, well, why even should I? If CC2 didn't think it was important enough to keep it around, well, shit. I guess it is what it is. The other DLC is Street Fighter, which is sick. You get to fight Ryu and Evil Ryu, and in the second one you get to fight Akuma and Oni. The first fight for both of the characters, Ryu and Akuma, you fight them in a Street Fighter setting, like any Street Fighter game you play. That's what you play, that's what it's like. And the second fight is Asura's Wrath scale of Battlefield, but it doesn't excuse the fact that they still removed part 4 of the story. They even did this with Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 3, well, in where they locked 4 playable characters in the disc. They even promoted in certain parts of the collector's edition that I have over there. Like if you get this 2 Despair one, you even see them at the side, but they were locked in a disc. You couldn't even play them until they released another game, Revolution or Revelation whatnot, and they released them as brand new characters when they're really not. And that's one thing I hate about CyberConnect 2. Their business practice is fucking awful, but at the same time they put care into their work. They can really present a game to be as beautiful. I mean, that's evident with this game, Naruto Storm series, the story mode, and their recent one, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And now my wrath rant is over. There's still a lot more to talk about. The music in this game sets the tone perfectly, like Yasha's theme. His theme is a blend of old western cowboy with the spice of eastern to not retract from the setting of the game. And when you fight against August, they use Antonian Symphony No. 9 in E minor from the New World to set the tone and atmosphere for the fight, and that music makes the fight galactic, adrenaline pumping and immersive. I didn't talk about this in the gameplay part of the review, but I might as well now since this game is interactive anime. There are a ton of QTE to perform and synchronize perfectly. For me, it's quite an effort trying to get the perfect synchronization as the timing was a bit off, but I think I know how to do it later on. And not only that, there's no smooth transition, it's too choppy and the frame rate struggles to keep up with the gameplay or cutscenes that have too much going on for them. I said that each episode has an intermission in between cutscenes. I wish that we saw some form of mock advertisement or trailers for other games, kinda like how MGS4 did it. But that doesn't matter, as you see some amazing art done by the winners of some contest, and also to see the other intermission when you start each chapter. Unfortunately, you have to play the game continuously to see them. Like if you quit the game and play the next day, you don't get to see these slideshows, and that's a shame. But when you unlock certain trophies, you do get to see it as an unlockable. The voice acting is excellent. I use English voices and I realized some of the voice actor, like Asura, has the same voice as Gaara, and Sergei, believe it or not, is voiced by Orochimaru from Naruto. I'm happy that I realized who they were, and I'm sure the same can be said for the Japanese voice actors. The critics at the time did enjoy the game, the quote-unquote interactive anime type of thing. Since you play as a wrathful person who screams a lot, it's gonna entice people to play it, kinda like how Dragon Ball Z did. And that's my review of Asura's Wrath. My feeling towards it is kinda like this. The shady practice behind this game I hate, and because of that I can't fully enjoy the game or experience it properly. The gameplay is okay, not all that innovating, The music is excellent, you know, setting the tone and the grand scale of the battle, and the cutscene is where this game excels at, showing you the spectacle and the grand performance of Asura's Wrath and what CyberConnect 2 is capable of, and that is a marketing point of it. So why did people forget this game? Well, they didn't forget it, it's just that Capcom didn't push Asura's Wrath, the IP. Like, they didn't put him in crossover battles, like I said earlier with Marvel vs. Capcom, and unfortunately there isn't much to do with the story. Like, if they make a sequel, they can't make a sequel, I guess. Or if they do, he has to be another different character. Everything is told in the story. I don't know, just a one-hit wonder type of thing. And if Capcom isn't gonna push it, then, well, it's dead in the waters. Anyways, I've been AnimersiveXP, and I've talked about pretty much what I want to talk about. Thank you for watching. Make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and you'll see me in the next video. Bye bye.